Welcome, everyone. This presentation is on tips and resources for families of middle school students, families who are unfamiliar with the U.S. school system, middle schools. Families may have attended private schools themselves or who don't have much experience regarding the middle school setting, especially in Washington State. My name is Lorna Gilmore, and I work for the Family Partnership Department in the Issaquah School District. This is my 22nd year in the district. So our department is primarily tasked with helping our culturally and linguistically diverse families. We do work with a family advisory group, and we listen to information from them to determine what type of presentations, what type of workshops and events our families need. Based on their feedback, we have created several presentations, including the 8th grade transition night, the 5th grade transition night, welcome to kindergarten, the tips and resources presentation that we do, a workshop on how to talk to teachers during parent-teacher conferences, and numerous others. Our website is on the district. And before we start, I just want to discuss quickly for those families who are new to the area and new to the school district. I've heard people sometimes talk about the fact that they don't understand the difference between a school district and a school. A district is composed of many schools, and all of the district usually oversees the curriculum, that manages the teachers, the transportation, the lunches, and all of that for all of those schools. Our school district has 16 elementary schools, 6 middle schools, and 3 regular high schools, 1 boutique high school, and we also have Echo Glen, which is the state-run juvenile detention area. So we also, in our middle school, we have something known as feeder patterns. So students in specific elementary schools will then move on to specific high school, and then specific high schools are then students feed into the other will be going to Liberty. Now, on our website, I want to make sure we all note that there is a Google Translate button, very common in many websites right now, and that is to make sure that families who are linguistically diverse have access to this information. Our district has approximately 25 different languages that are preferred languages of communication by our families, and about 84 different languages spoken at home for community members within our district. So our website is under Programs and Services under Cultural and Family Partnership. You will find information about future events. If you're interested in future events, for example, we will be talking about the Canvas event coming up in September. Those of you who have never used Canvas and are new to using Canvas, which is a learning management tool, we'll talk more about that. We will be hosting an event on the 21st, and you can sign up for that event. We also have some other events that we'll be hosting, especially for high school, about financial aid and scholarships. And we have connection nights where you can just come and ask questions and we can answer them to the best of our ability, or help find people within the district who can give you the best answer. Finally, I want to point out that we have a religious and cultural calendar. So those of you who are culturally diverse or religiously diverse, I want to make sure you note the calendar so that it's really to help our families understand that it is okay that if they have to have an excused absence or for their child because of a religious or cultural celebration, and our staff is aware of that, and they will not penalize your child. And your child, you can email and correspond with the school about that absence and for an excused absence. So we just want to make sure that there's communication with our school when your child is absent. All of these resources will eventually be posted on this resource page. Those of you who had questions regarding the fifth grade if you all came to my fifth grade transition in February, that information is posted. It has a lot more information about course selection. So I'm not going to have enough time to do course selection today. So I would encourage you, if you have questions on course selection, to go to this link and you will find the video. And for this event, we worked and we did a lot of information about math pathways, science pathways, and the choices of the English, taking the advanced class or not. And finally, if you have questions, I want to also point to you that we have family liaisons at each school. So if you have questions, please make sure you're contacting me or one of the family liaisons. And with me today, I have Susie, and I'm going to ask Susie if she could introduce herself.
Good evening. I'm Susie Yamane. I am the admin assistant to the equity department, Elena Sivadowson, and Lorna's cultural and family partnership group is under the equity umbrella. So welcome, everybody.
Thank you, Susie. And as I said, today, the purpose of this presentation is really to help inform our parents that are new to U.S. public schools and help them understand about navigating the school system and hopefully answer some questions they might have as their child starts middle school next Tuesday. Also to help you provide some resources on where you can find answers and get help if you have questions in the future, because really this is trying to make sure we're empowering our families to find answers so they can help themselves. And as I said earlier, we have liaisons, and the liaisons help families navigate the school system. At each school has a liaison, and that liaison follows the students through the feeder pattern. So whichever middle school your child is at, that liaison will also be the liaison at the high school. And so, if you're wondering and you have questions about high school, the liaison again is a great person to talk to, because that person would be the person you talk to throughout your middle school and high school experience. Liaisons, family liaisons, are ISD employees who connect school staff to parents and answer questions as needed. They provide them with resources that they might need. Maybe some information about health needs, financial information, or connect them to people who work with our school district who can better serve them. The liaisons also sometimes may act as cultural brokers, and we can help staff and parents connect with interpreters as needed for any families who are linguistically diverse. And again, a reminder in the feedback form that Susie has in the chat, please, if you fill that out with your name and email, you can also ask if you want the liaison to call you back, and the liaison can have a meeting with you or email you with any specific questions you have. And I can connect you with liaisons as needed. And you don't know if you need help right now. So let's wait and see if I answer all of your questions. And if I am, maybe you have new questions based on what I've presented right now. So let's begin with the district calendar. The district calendar is already posted on the website. This is an amazing link to have bookmarked. You will find it under Home, About Us, and Calendars. And it's a very helpful tool, because throughout the school year, you will be able to look up important dates, because sometimes we forget. For example, did you know that October 24th is a no school day? It's a Monday. Or January 27th. Did you know that March 17th was a snow makeup day? So it really has some really great information on there for you as you are planning trips, dentist appointments, doctor's appointments, and anything like that, because it just helps you know what's coming up and helps you with your child's daily, weekly planning during the course of the school year. The last day of school is June 20th, as you can see here. And one of the big things I like to remind parents about the school calendar is, as students enter into middle school, it's really important that you try to avoid having the students be absent too much. In elementary school, they really don't do makeup work, or, I don't know if you missed a day and you're doing some assignments, the teachers really have you make up that work, or maybe they work with you individually in small group time to help you catch up. But in middle school, it's much harder. As a teacher, science teacher for 15 years, I can tell you if students were absent during labs, they got a 0 on that lab, or that assignment or that test until they took the initiative to make up that assignment by staying after school to do that work. And so students are really responsible for missed work. So if you take your child out of school for a week, for example, that child will then have to check in with all their teachers when they come back and say, what work did I miss? Can I make up all that work? Nowadays with Canvas, which we'll talk more about, they can make up some of that work, but it becomes hard. So just this slide is just a reminder to try to avoid being absent, have your child being absent as much as possible. I get that with COVID, it's really hard right now. And that's definitely one of the issues we're dealing with COVID. But I'm talking more about travel absences or absences for dental or dentist doctor appointments. As much as possible, try to schedule them on Wednesday mornings after school or days that we already have built in no school dates. The school website. The school website is a tremendous help. One of the things I will honestly tell you that even as a parent, it was overwhelming sometimes because you would get emails quite often and keeping track of the emails. What did the email say? You know, all of that stuff sometimes was really could be hard. And so I'd like to remind families that all of this information can also be found on the school's website. So if you go to upcoming events, for example, my child is going into high school, and by visiting the high school website, I was able to find out when was picture day, when was curriculum night, when she was going to be getting her laptop, a lot of great information. And same thing with the school. So even some of this information might not have been sent to you, but you can look that up on the website. You can also go to an announcements, the announcement tab, and then you can also look at all the announcements that were mailed to you. So the emails that you get with the announcements, the letter from for example, there was a letter sent home, all of that information is sent to you via the, all of the letters, emails that were sent to you is available right here on this tab. This is where they're kind of archived over time. If you are noticing or if you're seeing information in announcements and you're realizing, oh, oops, I'm not getting them, you can definitely sign up to receive a weekly bulletin. And maybe you're getting them at an email that you don't like. Let's say it's at a Gmail and you're like, oh no, I don't really like getting it over there, but that's the one the school uses. You can sign up to get announcements, those emails at a different email alias, so that you're still getting them. So here are just a couple things. So make sure you use that to access the information, because in middle school, especially, a lot of information is purely emailed to you. So makeup days, change in schedules, information like that. So it's really up to the parents to keep up with all of that information. Now, remember, your child is getting all of this information also at school with the announcements in the school. So it's really, if they're telling you this, that's great. But sometimes, especially through the course of middle school, sometimes there's a lack of communication between a child and a parent, or sometimes the kids just pure forget to let their parents know some information. So, making sure that you're informed and you and your child can work together in trying to figure out the system. This is also, and I'll show you later, the way to access the Canvas portal, and we'll talk more about what Canvas is a little later on. The bell schedule. So you're going to note that now that you're in middle school, if this is your child if your child is a sixth grader, or if you're coming in from a different country or a different system, you'll see that the bell schedule might be a little bit different. For one, Wednesdays are late starts. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, school starts at the normal time, usually around 8:10, 8:15, depending on your school, and ends around 2:45 or 2:50 something, depending on your school. However, on Wednesday, school starts later. It starts a little after 10 and ends around 3:30. Again, some middle schools are slightly different, so check your school's site. And students can only be on campus unsupervised or in the building, inside the building, approximately 10 or 15 minutes early. So if you're dropping your child off in front of the school, 15, 20, 30 minutes early, please note that they're going to be having to wait outside and not be given permission to come on in. Parking lots can be a mess in the morning and in the afternoon, so just note if you're running late, give yourself plenty of time. There are a lot of automatic tickets given to families if they zoom past in the through the school zones. So drive slowly, be safe, give yourself time to drop off your kids if you are dropping them off. And then the bell schedule, it's really nice for parents to know also, especially if they are picking their child up, because if they're picking their child up, you don't want to have them miss middle of a science or a dissection for frogs or middle of a math test or something. So look at the bell schedule as you're creating the appointment for your child in the future. So this is another great site to bookmark because it gives you all the information about your child's daily schedule. And this information can also, you can pair it up with what's on Family Access that says, period 3. And they have ELA. So you can say, oh, period 3, when they're ELA, it's between 10:30 and 11:20. So it kind of gives you an idea where they are as you're creating their any appointments, or if you're pulling them out of school early for any reason. But this is the bell schedule. One of the things I'd highly recommend you do is let your child know about the bell schedule for Tuesday, or what the daily bell schedule is, because the first week of school, because they've never had to go from period to period, they sometimes get nervous. So, help give them a little cheat sheet where it says, first period will end at this time. Now you have to walk to room 1205 on the second floor, and then use the handbook, or make sure you take them to school so that they can have a pathway of how to get to that classroom. So that is really helpful. So when my daughter started middle school, I actually created a little sheet for her to show her, like, remember that your class will end here, your other class is here. Then I pulled out the map of the school and I said, this is probably the best way to go there. And over time, they figure out shortcuts and so forth. But some children, especially in middle school, because they've never had to go from one class to another class on their own. If your child went to elementary school in the US, this is the first time they really have so much freedom. Literally, the bell will ring, the class teacher will dismiss them, and 25 to 30 kids walk out the door in a huge hallway with a couple hundred kids, and now they all have to figure out how to navigate either to their locker and to their classroom or to their next class. So, talk them through it, and I would strongly recommend, if you haven't already done it, make sure you have your child go through the new student orientation day, which at some schools were this week, and a couple schools, I believe it's on Monday. Or you can go to school for a visit and ask the school if you're okay, if you're allowed to walk around the school and show your child and do a tour of the school with your child now. You're not going to get the class schedule probably till Friday night. So you're not going to be able to see where the classroom is till later. Grading calendar. So grading calendar, the middle school is divided into 3 grading periods, and each grading period is 12 weeks long. So the first grading period starts the first day of school and will end on November 28th. November 28th, you will be able to go to Family Access and you will get the report card. The report card, as with elementary school, is not sent home. You have to take the initiative to log into Family Access and look at your child's report card. So the report cards are not emailed or mailed home at all. Now, in the report card, it's going to look very different than what your report cards looked in elementary school. If your elementary school gave letter grades A, B, C, D, then this is no different, because this time the students will get an A, B, C, D. Students have to get a D or above to be passing that class. Yes, D is passing, so 60% and above is passing. And then at the end, after that grading period, the next day, a new grading period starts, and then that grading period is another 12 weeks. And so we have 3 of those grading periods. Now, at the middle of each grading period, you should, if you don't check your child's grade at any time of the year, I would try to make a note of those dates, the mid-try, to make sure you're checking your child's grade. In middle school, especially the first time children start middle school, for some of them blossom. They take off, every single assignment is turned in, they're doing well, life is great, everyone's happy, joy. Some other kids sometimes struggle a little bit, and you have to kind of gently give them reminders. You might have to help them, because for some kids, they might not have had as much homework and have as many responsibilities in having to turn assignments in on their own. In addition, many of the assignments they're going to be required to turn them in online. So luckily, because especially if your child is a sixth grader, the teachers will show them, teach them, model with them on how to turn in assignments by themselves online, submit assignments online into Canvas. If your child is a seventh and eighth grader, I would work with them a little bit. If you need, after 1 or 2 weeks and you're noticing your child needs help, because the seventh and eighth grade teachers very often may assume that the child knows how to do it, since all the sixth graders last year did that. And if your child needs a little extra help, let us know and we can kind of help them, or the school can have someone help them at school with how to turn work in. But the least I would recommend is checking your child's assignment at least every 6 weeks. If your child is a sixth grader, I would do it at least every week, if not more regularly. And so keeping track of this is really hard. So when the beginning of the year, sometimes for students, teachers also will go slowly in the first 2 weeks of September, but then it starts getting a little bit faster. And by mid-September, end of September, October, they'll start having a rhythm. And if your child, check in with your child definitely towards the end of September or throughout the month of September, October, to see have they gotten into the rhythm of knowing what the assignment is, doing their homework, or having some time to do their homework and submitting the assignment. What are their grades looking like? What are the comments from the teachers in the grade book? So checking all of that. If your child is taking an elective class, that elective class will change at the end of that trimester, depending on the type of elective. So some electives are all year electives, like band, orchestra, choir, ASB, those kinds of electives. Other electives only trimester long electives, and those electives might change. For example, they might have 2 PEs and a health. So they might have PE, health, PE, or PE, health, or they might begin with health and then switch to PE. But all kids usually have 2 PEs and 1 health class every year, along with English language arts, a math, a science, and a social studies. So nearly every single middle school child will have those core classes, and then they get a choice to take that 6th class, unless they are in MLL, ELL program, and in which case they will then take that MLL, multilingual learner ELL class for that last period. Not of the day, but of choices. Now, preparing for the first day of school. So already right now, all of the websites for the middle schools have the school supply. And that supply list is pretty general. So note, individual teachers might have some more specific items that they might require of the child, and they will let your child know, and they will also post it on Canvas that first week of school. So talk to your child that first week of school and say, hey, did any of your teachers want any specific things? So for example, most teachers just want, like 100-page spiral notebook or 70-page spiral notebook or composition notebook. Some teachers might want notebooks with certain tabs or something. So just what are they looking for? And so that list looks slightly different than it used to look for the elementary schools, if your child went to elementary school in this country. And they'll divide them in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade tabs. You can see, like zippered pouches are really helpful because they have to carry all their supplies. Graph notebook for math, some kind of composition notebook, usually for science. So all of those headphones is key right now for all students. So all of those are required items. And then, other items that they might use periodically. So check that supply list. Now, the good news is children have lockers in middle school, and very often they use their lockers to store their colored pencils and some other supplies they might need. And then make sure, though, before school starts, as much as possible, you go to school, and if you know what your child's locker number is and their locker, practice with them on the locker. I taught in middle school for 15 years, and I would say I spent about 10 to 30 minutes every day for the first 2 or 3 weeks outside my room, running around, helping kids open their lockers or helping teach them how to open their lockers before class started. And it was always hard because some kids would be crying and sad because they couldn't open their lockers and they'd get frustrated. So I personally, I'll tell you my secret, because of that, I bought my daughter a little small combination lock to help her learn how to use a locker. And then I went with her to help her practice opening her locker at school. So those are a few tips to just make that first week go a little bit better, because that is a high anxiety item, because they're so excited to use this locker, but then it becomes an issue, especially if they feel like they're late to class and their next class is far away. Many of the schools, there are stairs involved and they've got to go from one floor to the other. And by the way, don't worry about it. I know the first couple of weeks sounds scary, but they all make it. The first couple of weeks is hard, but then they all get into the routine. And then by November, December, just they probably don't even remember how hard those first couple of days or weeks were, and life is good. So, it's just like baby pains of kids sleeping, not sleeping through the night. It'll work out. It'll work out. So just keep on remembering that and giving your child the confidence and, letting them know you will get it. Don't worry. And what you also need to let them know is there are teachers out there. There's staff there who's out there going to be coming to help your child if they need it. So just make sure you check that and help them with that information. Lockers. The other one is the families will also be notified about the laptop distribution days. The schools will provide a laptop to all students. Now, this year is different than last year, because last year, if you had your own laptop, you brought your own laptop and used that. And that having a laptop was very successful, but the thing of having children bring their own laptops ended up being a management nightmare for some students and schools and teachers, because students' laptops would always die. They'd forget to bring their charging cords. The computers were not compatible with some of the applications students were needing to use. Some students were playing around on their laptops, and the teachers would have a hard time monitoring them because it wasn't school property. So to eliminate all of that this year, all students will need to use a district assigned laptop. And that is going to be so much safer for the school, for the students, for everyone around, because it's easier for teachers to monitor, to troubleshoot for technical issues, and it's compatible, that's the best part, with the many applications that the school uses nowadays. Nowadays, everything is kind of digital, including so many of our notebooks. Students can even go on to the KLS website and check out digital books, and they learn all about that. So school issued laptops, you during EVP should have also been asked to sign a form. So if you're thinking to yourself, I have no idea what she's talking about EVP, think back August 8th through the 15th, there are you can't have forgotten this. This was quite tremendous. There are like 15 to 17 forms that you had to sign and go through. One of them was technology form, and so make sure you signed that one. And if you did it, for sure your child will get the laptop, and if you have not, they'll probably ask you to sign it before they give your child a laptop. And in most schools, it's going to happen sometime while the kids at school next week. Maywood is going to start doing it a little bit earlier on Monday. And so check with your school, Maywood, if you cannot go that day when they're distributing it, because all children will get a laptop from the school. Laptops, having technology is very important, because literally the students start their day when they pull out their laptops, they open it, they go to the teacher's web page to see what the teacher's note is. Sometimes they will give a warm-up for the student to do. Then that's where, the assignments are usually due like at midnight, so that the kids have the assignment turned in before they come in. And so, or they might have all the way till the next day to submit that assignment online. So some teachers have pure online submission of assignments. Some the teachers might still have paper assignments that they collect. And as much as possible, we're trying to go to nearly all. Some teachers are being very successful in doing all paperless assignments, and some teachers are still a little bit back and forth. And so it depends on the teacher, but laptops are used quite a bit for all assignments and work. So COVID protocol, nothing too different from the end of last year. If a child has COVID, they get to stay home, or they should stay home, required to stay home for 5 days. And after the 5 days, if they test negative, they can come back to school. And, where if possible, we ask that they keep a mask on for 6 to 10 days, even though they're negative. And then if after 5 days, they're still testing positive, they should then stay home for another 5 days and do the full 10 days of isolation. And more details are going to be on the district website, because sometimes people ask, how do we know what day 0 is and day 1 for the 5 days? But you should definitely, if your child gets COVID, immediately let the school know, so then they can excuse that absence. They know how many days they're going to be out. Communicate with the teacher. See, this is where it's important. You don't have to tell the teacher the child has COVID if you don't want to, but tell the teacher the child is going to be out. And then make sure your child knows that, when they do go back 5 to 10 days later, they will be making up some of the work and what is, so you can plan for that, especially if it's 10 days. Maybe there's something the teacher and you can, and the student can do when they go back, to kind of figure out what accommodations can be made to account for those missed assignments. So communication again with the teacher and the school is key, especially for this. Canvas. So we talked about Canvas, and Canvas is a learning management system. So that's where this crazy acronym is coming from, LMS. It's Learning Management System, Canvas. And Canvas is where teachers post the regular grades, assignments, and then students actually, there's a communication, email your teacher in Canvas. So the teachers and students can talk about, you can say, Ms. Gilmore, why did I get a D on this assignment? Or Ms. Gilmore, I turned this assignment in and I don't see it as submitted, or can you help me with understanding problem number 3? I'm not quite sure what this means about, shield volcanoes or something. So you can ask. The teacher and student can communicate via Canvas. The Canvas, there's also a section in Canvas that there are links to the class textbooks, to a whole bunch of different apps that the students use very often. And then the teachers use very often as part of their technology tools. So all of those are in there with the passwords and logins. So it just makes it easier. I mean, right now, I'm sure many of you struggle with that, having to remember so many different passwords when you have like a password management system. But Canvas also helps students manage their passwords for safety and security reasons. If your child has a Canvas account for whatever reason, if they're not brand new this year, the Canvas accounts, so are all going to be reset today. And so your child is going to go back to the student ID number and creating the new Canvas password information. Now, if this is your first time for Canvas, note that there is a parent Canvas account. So a parent Canvas account is very different from the student Canvas account. The student Canvas account gives them access to submitting assignments, to taking their tests and doing all of this work online, communicating with their classwork. Your parent Canvas account is very much locked, so you don't see the other students' names and so forth in the class, because that's confidential. So we ask parents not to log in and use your child's Canvas account, because that is now going against confidentiality, and you have your own login and your own password and account. Now, how to use a parent Canvas? There are a lot of tutorials available online. So if you're tech savvy and you just want to go ahead and create your Canvas account, check it, play around with it. Don't do it right now. I'm going to strongly recommend that wait till at least Tuesday, because teachers are there shouldn't be much in there. But starting Monday, you should be able to see the different classes your child has. And if teachers are posting anything, you should be able to probably see that too. I would say by Monday, there's going to be stuff in Canvas, like documents and teacher names and everything. But there are a lot of tutorials in here to help you learn about Canvas, a lot of information and like tips, how for settings and profile. For example, you can set Canvas to send you an email if your child has a grade and the grade is below a certain percentage. You set it. You can set Canvas to send you daily reminders if you want I think it's too much, but that's up to you. You can set Canvas to send you a weekly reminder or reminder if your teacher puts in a test. So if this kind of assignment comes up, send you a reminder or send you reminders about blah, blah, blah. So you can set up notifications based on what you want in the settings and notification stuff. So you can really play around with that. And they have a lot of defaults set up already in Canvas. Lunch. So this time, I'm going to tell you as a person who worked in a middle and high school for 19 years of my life, going into elementary school was quite traumatic because elementary schools in Issaquah School District or in the United States itself is very, I thought, kind of boring. It's very limited because they're little children and you don't want to give them too many options. Middle school, there are much more options. There are usually 2 options for a hot lunch. One hot lunch is part of the free and reduced lunch program. Another hot lunch is more kind of a different kind of hot lunch, but there's options. There's also chips and drinks available, which is quite shocking for students because they all of a sudden didn't have that many choices in elementary school, and now they can buy some chips and drinks. Have a conversation with your child about that, because my child, I will definitely tell you, in 6th grade, blew through a lot of my money I had in their lunch account by buying chips and drinks, and usually also for their friends. So just keep that in mind. Then in addition, the cost of lunch, last year and the past year and a half, lunch was free. So we're going back to lunch is going to cost money, and it's going to cost $4.25, including milk. But if your child just wants to buy milk, 50 cents. The lunchtime is dependent on the child's schedule. Often I'm going to tell you nearly every single middle school keeps all the 6th graders in the same lunch. But if your child is a 7th or 8th grader, chances are they'll be split into a different lunch based on, usually it is their 4th period. Lunches are generally 30 to 35 minutes. There's plenty of time. Don't worry for them to eat. Most kids actually eat in 15 minutes. In the last 15 minutes, they go to the library. Some schools have foosball. Some schools have a basketball court, but they have some options for them for the second half of lunch. And for those 6th grade students, especially the 6th grade boys who still want to play, sometimes there's some physical activity for them to do. And so sometimes the kids all go out. And I know when I was there at Issaquah Middle a while back, when we had a different campus, they would play basketball, they would play foursquare, they do some kind of physical activity to release that energy. But most middle schools also have microwaves that students can use. So if you are sending them a hot lunch that needs to be heated up, they can use that microwave. I wouldn't recommend that for a while because sometimes the microwave lines are long. So just kind of test it out. Ask your child, how does it look? Before you kind of decide if you want to try a microwave meal. But the first week of school, I would highly recommend you pack the lunch, because school lunches at first week of school are long. And this year, middle school lines are going to be longer than they have had been before, because one, and mainly because kids are having to pay for lunch, and before they didn't have to, so the lines went a little bit faster. And 2, this year they're resetting the student lunch number for every single student in the district, which means every kid has to remember a new number. So my daughter has been very happy with herself on knowing her lunch number for the past, many years of her school career. And this year she's going to have to remember a new number. So that will be a new change. And, along with locker combinations and classrooms and times, it's just one more variable. So it might be stressful. So just take away that factor. By the first week, pack them a lunch. And if they get a free and reduced lunch application, write down their lunch number somewhere super secret so they can pull it out and know it. And the lunch cashier can also look it up. It just takes a little bit longer, but no worries. It can be done. Transportation. So middle school routes are going to be different than the elementary school routes. There are usually fewer stops, and so you're going to see a little bit more walking, most likely, maybe not, depending on where you live. But already you can go to the Find Your Bus site on the website. So how do I get here? I go to Programs and Services on the Issaquah School District. Again, Programs and Services. And then under programs and services, you're going to go to buses. And under buses, when you go there, you're going to click on find your bus route. And when you go to find your bus route, it's going to give you all the instructions regarding the username and password and how to set that up. And you will have to go to Access eLink to look up your students' bus route information. Please note that they will not give you this information in a postcard. They're not going to send it to you. So you as a parent have to be proactive in looking up your child's bus route information. So when you, it's very easy, though. I'm going to show you. When you click on it, you're going to be asked to enter your child's first name and last name with a period in between. So you get first name and last name with a period in between. And then you're going to be asked for your child's birthday. Again, super easy. So you're going to do the numbers. So 2-digit month, 2-digit day, and a 4-digit birth. Okay, 4-digit birth year. Okay, so for example, 2008 or something. So if you could do that, and then once you have that information, I lost it, I'm sorry. So once you have that, you click on it. And now this one kind of confuses some parents sometimes, because once you get in, you will note that it's going to give you this kind of weird page. Well, I thought it was different. Sorry, not weird, normal, perfectly normal. And then you're going to click on work with students. And then you're going to click on view my student. Okay, so that's the process you're going to go through. And if you're having trouble with all of that and you still have questions, and if you're not getting the information you're looking for, if your account is not working, you can call this number. Okay, that is the transportation number. And if you're all the way in there and you click on view my student and you don't have a bus route, chances are your child or your address where you live doesn't qualify for a bus, because you are 1 mile as the crow flies and your home is designated as a safe walk route. And so your child will have to walk to school. Okay, now just also I want to show you what, when you click on your information, that link, this is what is going to pop up. And it's a lot of information, so pay close attention. So here is the address, and you can Google it, walk to it to see where it's at, where the bus will pick you up in the morning, and the time it will pick you up, the time it will take you to school. So this is the time it picks you up, and this is the time that you will arrive at the school. Okay, so it says to Issaquah High School, that's the time. This number right here, route blah, 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 that's the route number. And for some of you, you're going to be surprised because multiple other buses might drive by your house. My street, at least 2 other buses drive by our bus stop before the right bus comes, and the kids all figure out which one it is, and the bus driver knows which place to stop at. So your route number, this number is actually especially important, not when you're waiting to pick up the bus, but when you're waiting to come home. Because when you're coming home, sometimes there are like 15 buses lined up in front of the school, and the child has to walk from bus to bus to bus to bus to say, which one is my bus? And then after a while, they'll figure out that the buses usually arrive in a certain order and park in a certain order. Should make sense to know where your bus is usually. So patterns start to develop and it becomes easier. Another thing I told you earlier is on Wednesdays, because it's a later start, there's a different pickup time. So it's going to give you your Wednesday pickup time and the Wednesday arrival time. And then also the drop-off. What is the drop-off location and what time will your child arrive home? Okay, and I know for first-time users, many of you will be worried and concerned till your child comes home. So what time to expect your child home is a big deal. So I know you want to pay attention to this and figure out how long it'll be before they get home, or especially if you're meeting them, just for at least for the first couple of days, what time to expect them home. So this is the transportation number, and remember, there's a number on that site. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call the transportation and find out. This is one of the few places that I can answer questions about bus route. Why don't you have a bus or anything? I can help you, if you're having trouble accessing your bus information, and but really it's your child's name, last name, and then their birthday, and the information should be available. So I would check now So if you have any questions, transportation has some time to figure it out, return your call, or for you to get your answer from the transportation department. Sports. Now, this is a big, big excitement in middle school because finally students are able to take sports in school. Okay, so in the fall, there are 3 different sports that are offered: girls volleyball, co-ed softball, and cross country. In the winter, there are 3 sports again, and that's girls basketball, girls 2 sports really. It's girls basketball, and there are 3 levels: varsity, JV, and intramural. And intramural is kind of like playing for fun. So and it's usually a lot of the 6th grade girls at intramural. Usually it's the 7th grade girls and JV basketball, and then the 8th grade girls in varsity basketball, but basketball, and then co-ed wrestling. The second half of winter, so it's kind of broken into 2 shorter periods. You have soccer, basketball for boys. So basketball for boys and soccer for girls. You will note next to these words, it's either says tryout required or non-cut. Tryout required means that if you don't, you have to try out, and based on the tryout, you'll either be placed in the varsity team or the junior varsity team, which is kind of, the varsity is the highest level, usually the most skilled players, and then JV the next level. And for volleyball, for example, they have those 2 levels, and if you don't qualify for those 2 levels, then you might be cut. And luckily in cross country, there's no cutting. So any kid who's interested in doing cross country, every kid gets to participate, run, and participate in cross country. Now in wrestling, it's no cut, so you can do that. Basketball, there's a varsity and JV basketball where students might be cut, but there's also a big group where you're not going to be cut from that. Same thing with basketball for boys, and track is also a non-cut sport. Now, the thing with sports is there is a fee. For the cut sports where tryouts are required, it's a $50 fee, and and also for cross country, most of the sports except for intramural. Okay, so all of the fees have all of the sports have a $50 fee except for intramural sports such as this girls basketball, boys basketball, girls intramural soccer. Okay, and then practice usually starts at 4 o'clock. So school ends around 3:45, gives them enough time to go and drop stuff off at their locker or get something to drink, whatever. Then go to the locker room, change their clothes, get ready, and practice starts at 4. Practice, right after school ends at 2:45. So 2:45 it ends, and then they have about 10-15 minutes to go to the locker room. So that's close to 3 o'clock, a little bit before 3 o'clock. And then practice ends at 4 o'clock. And then after practice ends at 4 o'clock, then they have some time to change clothes or clean up or do whatever. And then the activity bus comes at 4:20, and on Wednesdays at 4:15. Now, we haven't talked about this yet, so give me 1 second. I want to go back to a couple of things before I go there. And that is, if your child is interested in participating in a sport, they need to make sure that they have a physical on file. And that is, they have to have a physical submitted to a web platform called Final Form. So if you haven't done so already, take your child to their pediatrician or have an appointment with a clinic to get a sports physical. When you get that sports physical that is signed by the primary care doctor, sports practitioner, medical practitioner, or nurse practitioner, you can then create an account, log in, and then you will have to fill out forms for your child to upload it. This Final Form site is used in middle school and high school. So just note that you'll be doing this if your child is into sports all through their middle school and high school year. And the physicals are usually good for 2 years, except in 9th grade. Once again, all kids need to start with a physical form again. Okay, and then for sports, so physical forms, final forms, fees. In addition to the sports fee, all students who participate in sports need to have something called an ASB card fee paid, which is approximately, I think it's like $30. But when you did your EVP, you should have seen ASB fee on there. And if you have not paid for a sport fee, but you now realize your child is interested in sports, no worries. You can go online and that link is still open and you can go and pay because it's on the school site for pay fees and fines. And you can go to that site and pay for this sport fee. So what I wanted to talk about though is about the activity bus, and that's something that I really appreciate about our school district is that all students who participate in clubs and sports have the opportunity to take an activity bus home. So I said that sports ends at 4 o'clock in middle school, and at 4:20 there is an activity bus. So let's say a child goes to Issaquah Middle, and these bus routes serve Issaquah Middle and Issaquah High School. One of the things you need to figure out is what bus, where your child lives, where you live, and what bus route for the activity bus will work for them. So there are usually multiple routes. So that was one of the hardships when my child started doing sports. After her sport, she's like, oh, now how do I come home? And luckily there are people who are at school who are able to help based on her address and her normal bus route. But if you have a chance, kind of just look at it and see what the normal, what the bus routes are for the activity buses, because they're not the same as the regular bus route. And they also will drop you off usually a little further away, and the children will have to walk a little bit of a greater distance home. The first couple of days, I'll be honest, I would go and meet my child at the bus stop and walk and drive her home. But once she got used to it, she actually preferred walking home on her own because there were about 20, 30 kids who'd get off the bus with her and they would all walk home to, towards the homes together. And so that was a lot of fun. But the main thing I didn't do when she started sports was I forgot to look up these routes to help her know where what bus route number she'd be taking. So this is just hint based on my learning and my mistake when my child was in 6th grade. So going back over here, so practice starts and after school ends at 4, activity bus, check bus route, and then look for a sign on the bus. So it's usually the bus route numbers, and I didn't mention that early in transportation, just so all parents know that it's painted black and it says Issaquah School District 411, and there's a number. That is not your route number. Your route number is usually in like a little pocket divider type thing. It's usually on a piece of paper, but the route number is different than the big number painted on the side of the yellow school bus, okay? So if it's painted on the yellow school bus, that is not your number. It is a different number that's usually in the window in the front. So have your child look for that number, okay? Okay, clubs. So another wonderful things, I love middle school, by the way, but middle school has clubs. And so if your child is interested in robotics, Dungeons and Dragons, a writing club, math clubs, math Olympiad, all of these different clubs, there are a whole bunch of different clubs that are available at each school. It's ASB chair, those are actually more for the high school level. So let me show you what is at the middle school level. So if you go to the student life activities, under student life activities, you're going to find this tab. It's going to show you clubs. Now all 6 schools have the exact same tab, just so you know. So you'll be able to find this information, and it's going to show you board game club, writers club, math support. Some schools have a supervised homework space that kids can go to. So all of this information is posted here. This information has not been updated, I'm going to tell you, and this year most likely it's going to change quite a bit. Unfortunately, COVID did a huge hit on clubs. A lot of clubs kind of disbanded in the past 2 years. So I am hoping that now that life is kind of going back to normal, hopefully, many of the teachers who used to sponsor clubs or the students who used to love being in certain clubs rebounding and starting their clubs or joining their clubs again. So you can see here at Beaver Lake, we have a Kiwanis Club, a Rubik's Cube Club, a National Junior Honor Society Club, a Math Club, First Robotics Club. Let me look and see what, let's say, Pine Lake has, just for the heck of it. and Pine Lakes clubs. So I'm just showing you that all of them on the same place. Student life, activities, and this is also where you're going to find the athletics information for sports. And so in this school, the clubs would include Earth Core and Homework Club. But note that this is not the end, because again, this is over the summer and a lot of clubs really had to do a lot of work because of COVID really impacting the ability for groups to meet, buses, and a lot of kids were very hesitant about being in small groups. Okay, so next slide. How can you help your child? Oh my gosh. The new school year, if your child is, this is your first time, your child's first time, it can be overwhelming. So for one, take a deep breath and don't transfer your anxiety, if you have any, to your child. Two, your child may be anxious, or they might be overly think that they are really with it, and make sure you help them and coach them so that they are prepared for it. So talk to them about various interests and clubs so it helps them join the groups, and it really, those things help them make friends, and show them where this information is located. Review the belt schedule if they can, because those are the little things that sometimes really bogs them down. The fact that they got lost, the fact that they couldn't open their locker, the fact that they couldn't eat, the fact that they really didn't meet many people, or they didn't really have many friends. So it's that sense of community, the sense of identity and belonging is a huge part in middle school life. So middle school students really need to have that sense of security and the sense of belonging, and that really helps them do better in school. And so if you can help them with that. The other big one that students struggle at is organization. Middle school is very overwhelming for children, because in elementary school, they had one teacher, and they didn't really have much homework usually. And so it was very different. So now that they're in middle school, they are responsible for turning in all their work. The teachers sometimes are giving them, luckily, that's not giving them any papers anymore, because everything is on Canvas. But that sometimes is worse, because for some kids, it's out of sight, out of mind. They don't even know what they're supposed to do because there's a paper, but then if you forgot about it. So really checking Canvas. So you should create or help them figure out, how do I know what my assignments are at home? When I come home, what should I do to make sure I did everything that I need to? And there are tabs in Canvas that are, like assignments or what's due. And so show them how to use Canvas so they know what assignments they need to turn in. Okay, so work with your child. And if you ask your child to show you, that really helps create conversation and dialogue with them, helps you learn about the Canvas, gets them to share what they were learning at school, and that reinforces their own learning. Counselors. Now, in elementary school, there was only one counselor for the whole school. In middle school, there are two counselors. So the counselor, each counselor is assigned half the alphabet. It's usually like A through L or M, and then M through Z or something like that. So find out who your child's counselor is. That counselor will be them 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. That counselor is responsible for your child's class schedule. And if you have any problems with class schedules and such, so they're also academic counselors, but they're also social emotional counselors. When in elementary school or in other countries, I very often hear that students have something called like a homeroom teacher or main teacher, and that teacher communicates to parents about how your child is doing, if there's any problems and so forth. We don't have that. So your child may have like a homeroom or pause class or a links life class or stuff like that, where that person is not the main person to communicate with. It's really the counselor. So if your child is needing help with academics, counselor. If your child needs help social and emotionally, counselor. If your child's schedule needs to be changed, counselor. If you want to talk to several of your child's teachers, counselor. So counselor is really your main point of contact for academic, social, emotional needs. And so the best way to get in contact with that counselor is to send that counselor an email and then the counselor will respond to you, answer your questions, have a phone call with you, or set up a meeting with you. So the counselor is really the main point of contact for your child at the middle schools. By the way, I'm not seeing any questions in chat, so I'm assuming you are getting everything I'm saying, but please don't hesitate to ask me questions in chat. I try to respond to questions or clarify if I'm not making sense, because otherwise I'm talking to black space. So please don't hesitate to ask questions in chat. And we're coming to the end of the presentation, and I'll stop talking soon, I promise. Communications with teachers and schools. Now, in middle school, parents, it really becomes the parents and the child's responsibility to keep up with information that the school is sharing, and it's usually via Canvas. So make sure that if your child's teacher is sending you any notifications, it'll also come to you via your email, but making sure that you are checking Canvas periodically to make sure that their grades are, things are going well, that there are no issues or learning areas, weaknesses that you might need to support them in. So Canvas is the main way teachers communicate with the student and the family. And so if there is a concern, the recommendation is for you to have a conversation with your child, coach your child, see if your child can ask your teacher how they can improve, to ask for help, to get answers. And if that is not working, then you can come in behind and then ask the teacher for help. But middle school is a transition year. Elementary school, you really did a lot. You asked the teacher for lots of questions. The teacher communicated with you all the time. A lot of his information was exchanged between teacher and student. That's elementary schools in the United States. In high school, we usually go the other end, and it's usually the teacher is talking mainly to the students, and the students, when they have questions, they would like to talk, they should be asking the teacher. So it's very much student-teacher relationship by the time they're in high school, independent. So in the middle school, it's where you are now teaching them to then transition to be more independent learners, advocating for themselves and so forth. But that's where you come in the role of coach. Okay, so teachers may send weekly emails or newsletters to the whole class, but it's really teacher dependent. Students will not come home with any report cards, any paper flyers, or any letters from teachers and such. So really, it's all going to be via Canvas or via email. So make sure you're checking your emails regularly, read the school announcements and the school website. Curriculum. So I told you the main class, and one of the parents has asked about band orchestra. So all the schools, all 6 schools offer a band and an orchestra elective. Usually all 6th grade students will join the beginning band or the beginning orchestra. And so that's what all the 6th graders take. And then the 7th and 8th grade students usually take the intermediate class. Now, even if your child does not play an instrument whatsoever, when they go into orchestra or band, your teacher will have a conversation, and then the child will decide what instrument they're interested in. The teacher might talk about the different instruments and say, let's look at your hands, let's look at, this thing, and maybe this one is the best instrument for you, or this is what this sounds like, this is how this is played, and helping the child choose their instrument. So that happens in 6th grade. And it's quite impressive that many students start 6th grade knowing no skills in playing a musical instrument. And then sometime in December, and Susie can attest to that because we've gone to many concerts at Issaquah Middle School together. She and I work together in Issaquah Middle School also. And they're amazing. And you're just thinking, wow, you started with nothing and now you have this entire body of students playing together. So that was a big part. And also they get better, and then you can either rent the equipment, and if you cannot afford the fee to rent, you can talk to the school about borrowing certain instruments. And then students who are interested in, parents are interested in, sometimes teachers might say, hey, you might also want to consider taking private classes to excel. And then it's a progression from 6th grade to 12th grade. Some kids stay in band and orchestra throughout their middle and high school career. Now, if a lot of students pick the same instrument, then that does become problematic. And so that is something to talk with the band and orchestra teacher, and usually they figure it out. And then maybe you don't get your first choice, it's possible. And so it depends on the school. So I would say talk to the orchestra teacher about that, and the assignment of instruction. So I'm not sure what this question is, how the assignment of instruction done. So assignments of instruction, I'm not sure. So if you could clarify that question, I'd appreciate it. But there are assignments given to students. Expect that students are going to have in 6th grade, not as much usually. In 7th and 8th grade, definitely more homework and assignments. Okay, so how's the instrument instruction? Oh, I have been in the class a few times to watch them, but it's amazing. And they literally, the music teacher works with small groups of students at a time and showing them finger placement. Now continue practicing that, going to the next person, now do this and continue doing that, now do this, continue doing that. They watch sometimes, they go into smaller groups and they work. They might watch a little clip on something to help them with their musical instrument. I'm honestly not musically talented at all. And how they get through this for so many different instruments at so many different levels is amazing to me. My daughter was in orchestra and she was learning how to use a double bass, and I was just like, oh, wow. But it's a lot of work. The teachers are working with a lot of students little by little, slowly by slowly, but then they progress. They progress every year. Curriculum night is on the 6th at Cougar Mountain Middle School, Beaver Lake, Maywood, PCMS, and IMS. It's on September 13th, and on September 20th, it's at Pine Lake. The curriculum that they use is curriculum that the district has adopted and that follows Common Core and Next Generation. So all teachers, so there are a lot of meetings with like all the 6th grade teachers in middle school, all the 7th grade science or math teachers, for them to align their curriculum, and they're using the same curriculum. And so there's a lot of alignment for all the middle school teachers to be following set curriculum. Teachers have some option and ability to use supplemental work, but in general, most teachers use all the district adopted and might supplement here and there for certain things. There's a shift from factual information to information application, higher order thinking skills, and the district uses a lot of digital technology and applications to reinforce learning at the schools. I just want to also let you know, if any of you are interested in being part of the instructional materials committee, all of the curriculum is also is approved by parent groups who are part of something known as the instructional materials committee. So if you're choosing music, you're not going to be able to have another art. So that is their elective. So music would be their all year elective. Now, if they want like a art class, that would be a different elective, and the art class is most likely going to be, there are different kinds of art classes, trimester classes. So there, like when I was at IMS, at one point there was a teacher who did like an architecture, there was another teacher who did like a digital art. I taught a Photoshop class as an elective for part of the time. So there are different electives, and those electives are trimester. So all students have to choose an elective, yes, but if they're choosing music, that's a full year elective, either a full year of band, full year of orchestra, full year of chorus, and they don't get to choose any other electives such as art, other type of, not like art as in painting art or digital art or something. Photoshop was something, by the way, I did when I was there 7 years ago. I think Mark Dorset might still do a Photoshop electives there still. Okay, going to the next ones. Teacher support. Encourage your student to participate in class as much as possible. And this is the hard one. you ask your child, if you have a question, please ask the teacher. Very often students are so hesitant, especially in 6th grade, they feel so shy because there are so many classes, so many students they might not know. So, how do you do that? When do you go and ask a teacher? Helping, encouraging them, saying, okay, I get you didn't know, but was there a time when you could have approached the teacher? Was there a time at the end of the class? Was there a time, that you could ask the teacher for help? And if the answer was no, that's when you could help them, maybe send an email to the teacher with the question. So really, this is all about encouraging, modeling, and coaching your child how to best succeed in academics, how to set up a schedule for them when they come home to do their homework, all of that. There aren't as many volunteer in the school opportunities in middle school. I will be honest with you and tell you that I was super excited as a former science teacher. I signed up to do a frog dissection for my daughter's class. It was the one and only time I got to volunteer in her class, the whole middle school, but then, a little thing called COVID happened. But there are very few opportunities to volunteer in the classroom, but if you join PTA has a lot more opportunities to work with PTA to do activities at the school for students. So that is one of the ways to do volunteer opportunities. There are opportunities to mentor other students through a voice program, but volunteering in the classroom, it's very rare at the middle school level. But make sure you're reading your announcements if any kind of other activities come up. Sometimes, the end of the year, there's a social, or in 8th grade, chaperoning some activities in 8th grade, things like that may come up. Okay, so there were some questions parents put in the registration form, and one of them that I know I didn't put in my presentation was around gifted. So in elementary school, I know that there's Sage and Merlin, but in middle and high school, we really have self-select. So those students who are identified as gifted are still monitored by the school counselor, and they meet with them periodically and work with them. But regarding classes, students in middle school can take class they want. They can self-select and choose the class they want. So if they were in Merlin or Sage, that means that they will most likely take a higher level math class going in for sure, but especially Merlin, Sage maybe. But the thing is, in middle school, all students have the opportunity to also take those advanced classes. So it's self-select, and we started doing this in, I think, 2001, 2002. And at that year, Ron Thiele was the principal of middle school when I worked with for him as my principal. But a lot of parents were really pushing and saying, we want our child to be in this higher level math, but they weren't in Merlin, so they can't be in it. And so they really opened some of these classes to all and gave guidance to the families on what what level their child should be. But really, a lot of the children, they change and they grow so much over the summer that some students really push themselves, and many of the students flourish, and some students will struggle. So it's really depending on your child, how busy they are. There's a lot of homework, and it's a lot of emotional maturity and level of understanding for that child. So it's a conversation with the child to see what class they want to be in. But the taking of specific advanced classes, again, it's self-select. Graduation requirements for high school. Now, for the graduation requirements for high school, I'd recommend that we attend or you ask questions of Liaison separately, because that is a lot more complex. We do an event called Transition to High School, and that event information actually is posted on my site. Here it is, 8th grade transition to high school. And I have a video and a slide deck like this, but the assistant director for student interventions, which is the school counselors, the assistant director for all counselors, she and I did this presentation together, and she really goes into more information about course selection in high school. So if you're looking ahead for that, I would recommend that you go ahead, and first step would be to watch this video. And then second step, you might want to visit your child's school and look under the school counseling site. And the easiest thing, honestly, is to do a search, and you can do course catalog. And if you look up course catalog for the school, that school, Running Start, welcome, course catalog. Let me go through a different ways. Counseling and counseling department, resources. Sometimes the things are hard to find. Course catalog. Course catalog. There we go. And so you will find this course guide. Issaquah High School course guide. Now, Skyline has their own, Liberty has their own, because each school has a slightly unique set of classes they offer all their students. But over here, you'll see the class selection, like in 6th grade, what they might be taking. Sorry, not this one. So just the 6th grade, what are the order of classes students might be taking? So, if they have biology, what kind of math should they have with it? And the flow of classes, the flow charts are posted over here, and what the options are in high school. So course catalog for the high school. In mathematics, it actually has a course catalog and a flow chart starting from the 8th grade here. So if they're in this 8th grade class, what are some options for 9th grade, 10th grade, and so forth. So there's a lot of information for that. So if your child is going to 9th grade next year, watch out for this presentation that I will be doing in January. And we will have more information. And then in addition to mine, the school will have their own information night. So there are at least 2 nights to get this information. So my event is really for families who have never gone to high school themselves to get the foundational base information. And then for families who are more familiar with high schools in the US, they can go to the presentation from the school, done by the school, because that's just, what high school is like, and here's a course guide, here's how many, here's the number of classes your child should be taking for graduation. They need 28 credits as far as I know right now, and information like that. So again, that's the event that I was showing you already that we did last January, and we will be doing that similar event this January on, we'll be doing it again on, so it's a good place to just get foundational information if you've never been to a high school in this country before. It's on January 25th. So, let's see, I have a question. Oh, my child going to 8th grade. This is his first time in the US. Can you please talk about how to navigate between classes, use lockers? So again, what I would recommend is, because they've not been to 6th and 7th grade before, I'd recommend you make sure they either went to the orientation for new students, but make sure you ask for the locker so you can practice opening the locker. And then you're not going to get the schedule till Monday, but show this child the map for the school. And as soon as you get on Monday, either Friday this week or on Monday, your school schedule for the day, talk about, this is your class. Now you have 5 minutes. I would go up these stairs. This is where your other class is. So you can go to the 2nd floor. In general, I try to have students avoid going to their lockers too much in the first week of school, especially if they're not familiar with using their locker. And sometimes they don't need to go to their locker. So where there's no need to do that. Your child should get a piece of paper with the password. When they went to, there was an event usually the first week of, right before school starts. It might also be something that the school will distribute to the students, but it's usually given to the students before school begins. I know that when my child was in 6th grade, they gave it before school began. So you can email or call the school and ask. Unfortunately, because it's 6 different middle schools, there's no one way it's done. So each school has their own way. So find out when the lockers will be distributed. And when they give you the locker number, they'll give you your unique 6-digit combination that's changed every summer. And so find out about that. Now, just a note, last year, they waited till sometime in the middle of the school year to give out lockers because of COVID. And so it's possible that some schools might do that again. I know that Issaquah Middle School did not give out lockers at all last year, but Maywood gave out lockers in the middle of the school year. So all the schools might have a plan for lockers, and I don't know what that plan is at this time. So they might not have lockers at the start of the school year, so your child might just be taking their backpacks, which is honestly the best way to start, because there's one less thing on their plate to deal with. And then as things progress, if the school opens up lockers, then they'll have their locker and be able to use it. Class schedules used to not be released till the first day of school. And so what I would say is class schedules now, because it's all available on Canvas and Family Access, by by Monday, students usually know what their class schedule is, because they can go online in Family Access and look at their class schedule. And very often teachers also posting this information or keeping up with their Canvas. So sometimes, depending on how Canvas is doing, students can kind of see the teacher information and their class information in Canvas. Yeah, so thank you, Megan, for answering about IMS giving lockers to anyone who wants one. So usually they have lockers for all the kids, and they usually give students this paper with the locker number and everything before school starts. So I would practice that. And if you have time between today and Tuesday morning, if you want, your child wants a locker, to get that now. Okay, let me see if I missed any other questions while I was doing this. Okay, at this time, it looks like I don't have any more questions in the chat. They do have an ELL or MLL, English language learner. So if you think your child is going to qualify for the English language development class, which is designed for students who are still learning English, their schedule, if they have not already been placed in that class, and they're going to be testing in the next couple of days or weeks for placement in their class, just note that if they do qualify to be put in the English language development class, their schedule may change if they qualify to be in that class. So just keep that in mind. And if you have specific questions or more questions and you want to talk to Liaison or with me individually, Susie, can you just remind everyone? Oh, you just did. Thank you, Susie. About if you haven't done it. Have you done it? Yeah, so put the link so they can complete the form and ask if they have any questions. How do we make our child's Canvas account? Oh, our school. No, you do not need to make your child's Canvas account. Your child's password has been reset, and your child has a Canvas account, and the first day of school, the first week of school, the teachers will be going over and reviewing with students about how to get and log into their Canvas. We also have a Canvas help desk. So if any students are struggling getting into Canvas that first couple of weeks of school, no worries. The teachers all know exactly who to ask for help, and there are staff members at each school who are assigned to help students reset their accounts if they need help. But the teachers will walk through Canvas for the students the first 2 weeks of school. So you do not need to teach your child how to use Canvas. The teachers will show them how to do that. If your child is a 7th or 8th grader, they might be a little bit, because many of the 6th graders, that's where they really learn how to use Canvas, but no worries. If they're new, you can talk to one of the teachers and let them know, and they will pair them with another student or a teacher, someone to help them. But you do not need to set up your child's Canvas account. Your teacher is going to do all of the work via Canvas, and so your teacher, they know how to use Canvas, and they'll help your child through the course of the day set up their account. Okay.
Lorna, a parent did ask about whether they will have their own Canvas account, and I did say yes, but I didn't go into any more on that.
Yes. So let me show this again. So note when you go to Canvas, I'm going to show the Canvas portal. So there are 2 accounts. There's a student account student account and a parent account. It is a complete different place to log in. So students click on this login to get into Canvas, and this is my daughter's information. I'm not going to click on it, even though I'm very tempted to right now, just to see what I can see over there. And then the parents, when they go into Canvas, it looks differently, looks different. The parent login, let's see. I haven't, there you go. Log. Aha, look at that. Failed getting to-do list. Let me see, crucials. Sorry, my Canvas account is right now set in Spanish because I was doing a demonstration for some families in Spanish and I changed it and I never went back. But as you can see, my Canvas account is active, but the district has not released information in there. So I am unable to see the classes that my daughter is taking. So that information is probably going to be available at a different time. Configuration, and let me change my language. Do I remember where my language is? I'll have to look at this later so I remember where the language setting is, because right now it's in English and I'm trying Spanish, and I'm trying to show you. I'll change it at a different time. Oh, here we go. Just yeah, I will change it at a different time, but this is Canvas. This is what it's going to look like. This is the notification setting, but as you can see, welcome, and it's not set up yet for Canvas with your child's schedule. Because when your child has the classes, you'll see all these little tabs over here with that information. Okay, so I'm sorry. I have one question. How can we register for a school bus? Is it possible to apply now? So your school bus, if you live outside 1 mile, you are able to take a school bus. If you live closer than 1 mile or within a 1 mile radius from the school, you most likely don't qualify for the school bus. The only way to really check again is going back to that site I had talked to you about, which is the buses programs. Susie, am I still sharing? What did you see?
Yes, you're still sharing. So you
Thank
can
you.
show
Yeah.
your buses.
So again, programs. So if you're not sure, this is really, I know can be hard, but it's make sure you go to programs and services, buses, and then go down to right. And you can do that today, tomorrow, like as soon as possible. Access your e-link, log in your child's name, first name, period, last name, their birthday, 2 numbers for the month, 2 numbers for the day, and then 4 numbers for the year, and then log in. And when you log in, you're going to be, it's going to say work with students. You're going to click on that, and then you're going to say view my student. And after you say view your student, it's then going to, I would show you what it looks like in real life, but unfortunately it gives my address, my telephone number, and a lot of critical information. So I'm not going to. And so this is what it shows you. And Susie, you're seeing what it's showing you, right? So
It's
you click
correct, yeah.
view my student, you're going to see the address where you're going to pick up the bus. Now, if you click on view your student and it doesn't give you information, it most likely is going to say your address doesn't qualify for buses. Can you take 2 sports during 1 trimester? And the answer actually is no, mainly because you will note there's only, well, I mean, I guess you could, but usually they only have like a sport, girls sport or boys sport available at a time. There are some sports that are available that are co-ed, but honestly, you can't, just because practice is literally the exact same day, the same time. And practice is usually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then after 2 or 3 weeks, practices, they have games. So each of these 6 schools will start competing with each other. So after 2 or 3 weeks, there will be a game or a match between, let's say, Beaver Lake and Issaquah. Then another week, there'll be a Beaver Lake against Maywood, and then Beaver Lake against, so each of the schools have matches throughout the sports season. So each of the 6 schools will compete with each other at these different matches. So because of that, because of the fact that there are matches at the same time, practice at the same time, it's really not possible. Is it normal to see 3 different times for the school bus? Different times for Monday, different times for Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Wednesday. And we were expecting to see 2 times. I don't know if that's the case for Gibson Eck, because that might be the case for that. I'm surprised you're seeing that many days, and I'm not sure why you're seeing a different time for Monday versus Thursday and Friday. So what I would do is call this, I would say it is somehow school specific or child specific. I don't know what your situation is. So I would either call I would call transportation and find out, or if you can email me and I can try to find out some information if I can figure it out really, just by what I see, if it's Gibson Neck or a different program that your child might be in. But otherwise, I would call school transportation. I'm honestly going to tell you, I don't see that very often. Do boys have soccer as a sport in high school? Let's find out. So if you go to the schools, you can look at Issaquah High School. I believe one of the sports Issaquah High School is soccer. I showed that yesterday, right? So I think there's a boys soccer in high school. And let's look at here. And seasons. Here we go. Girls soccer, and then boys soccer is spring. So your child will be able to do soccer in high school in the spring. If your child cannot pass tryouts, can they register for another non-cut sport later?
I think so.
I think so. So you just have to look at it. So yeah, so they don't make volleyball right now. They can still probably be doing cross country. Correct. So just talk to the coaches, because tryouts are usually very early, so that it gives the child the opportunity to do that. So double check with the coaches at the school. So I think you can, and it depends. And that's why I think they have tryouts pretty early. Let's see, did I miss any questions? Let me scroll up. I'm sorry if I missed this question. Please unmute and ask that question if I missed it. Okay, so you do not have to do a special thing for requesting a laptop. I hope you did your EVP process. If you have not, it is still not too late. You can do EVP by going through the portal, Family Access. So log into Family Access, and right here, when you log in, you will be guided to answer a lot of questions. And this year, you didn't have to request a computer, because all middle and high school students are getting a laptop. The only thing you have to do is say yes, because the thing with laptops is that you had to sign a form saying that your child would be responsible for their laptop. And the thing is, you have to sign a form saying that that if your child loses or misplaces the laptop, it is a $580 fee. That if the laptop, you can buy insurance. It gives you a link to where to get insurance. And the insurance is a third-party insurance that costs $75 a year with a $100 deductible. So in the end, you pay $175 if your child loses their laptop, it's stolen, or it's badly damaged. Regular wear and tear does not count. We expect that laptops will have wear and tear. So the reason parents have to sign that form through EVP is so they know the expectations. I would strongly recommend that you talk to your child about how to treat laptops. And I'm going to honestly tell you, in my neighborhood, I see a lot of families who will post saying our car got broken into and our laptop was stolen. So that is definitely not something you want to do, because you will be charged $580 if your child leaves their laptop, in their bag on the playground as they're, doing something, as they're walking home, or something like that. So just make sure that you have a conversation about responsibility for this item up for it. But nope, otherwise, all children will be getting a laptop. And if you did not fill that form, fill it out, or you will be sent that form home probably to sign before your child can get the laptop. Okay, did I answer any more? Any questions? If I missed anything, please unmute yourself. I'm happy to hear your voice and ask the question. Oops. I am actually going to stop recording, and that's going to make it easier for you to ask questions.